Found on the upper reaches of the is another West Sussex gem. Horsham is an historic trading post that we've sent our food-loving couple to in search of a special tasting. They're visiting the Horsham Museum and meeting up with curator Jeremy Knight. Jeremy has offered to shed some light on the town's history.
Horsham was actually created in 947 for trade, and the market trade was so popular that we had over 4 fairs a year and 5 days a year. There were markets at various times in the town, and Horsham had developed a number of specialties and became well known for gingerbread in the 19th century, with over 17 gingerbread sellers in the town.
Horsham gingerbread was clearly in demand, and when Jeremy was looking through some of the museum's archives, he discovered that the delicacy had a very famous fan.
The poet Shelley, who was one of the world's great poets, his very first letter he ever wrote was about gingerbread. And we actually have a copy of the letter in a book that was published and written by his cousin. Tell me the bearer not to forget to bring me a fairing, which is some gingerbread, sweetmeat, hunting nuts and a pocketbook.
So, historically, Horsham gingerbread went all over the country.
We know that Horsham gingerbread was sold in London, we know it was sold in Brighton, in Lewes. It was sold, as far as we can tell, far and wide.
In 2009, Jeremy acquired an old cookbook which included a recipe for Horsham gingerbread written by one of Shelley's aunts. So the next step on their heritage gastro tour is to meet Leslie Ward, a local food historian who's been working with the museum trying to reproduce the original recipe.
Hi Peter.
Leslie,
I'm
hello.
Leslie. Hello.
Hello, Leslie.
Jennifer.
And after a year of trials, she perfected the mix of ginger powder, black treacle, butter, wholemeal flour, mixed peel, oats and sugar.
Okay, so let's start cooking. I've got some black treacle here, Peter, so if you can be in charge of that, if you can put that on the cooker. You need to add butter.
That's a lot of butter, isn't it?
Well, you need the butter for the flavour.
Whilst Peter melts the treacle, butter and sugar, Leslie gets Jennifer to mix up the rest of the ingredients. It's thought Indian ginger was first exported to Europe as early as the 1st century AD. But as world trade boomed in the 19th century, spices like ginger became more readily available. Indian ginger powder is what the original Horsham bakers used over 200 years ago because it's mild and aromatic. Leslie too uses powdered rather than fresh ginger, but she's given the recipe a new addition to make it her own.
By adding the oats, I kind of stabilised it. Every gingerbread maker added different things, and I felt happy that I'd added my own. So how are we doing here?
Now this is boiling.
What you need to do is pour it into the dry mix, and Jennifer can mix it all up.
Oh, that looks gooey. Tough going when it gets mixed.
A large quantity is quite hard work, actually.
I think that's just about ready now.
The mix is poured into trays,
It's getting quite solid, isn't it?
Yes, it cools down.
smoothed out and popped into a hot oven. And 20 minutes later, the gingerbread is ready.
They look fantastic.
They smell good too, don't
Look at
they?
that.
Leslie lets the gingerbread sit for 10 minutes and then uses traditional square cutters to divide up the portions. It's time for the cooks to head into the garden for that all-important tasting.
It's really quite fruity. I can taste it, the lemon and the orange, and gosh, it's much stronger than I anticipated.
It's the ginger. It's quite subtle, and then it comes through really, gives it real heat.
It's the ginger from India that does it. It doesn't hit you in the face like some of the hotter gingers.
No.
It's delicious. Thank you.
Yes, fantastic, Leslie. Thank you so much.
So after sampling a slice of Sussex's culinary heritage, it's time for